bet if you did that, you would find the same thing. So here's a few that stood out for us. So routine is something that when I first got started teaching, I thought that, so I was very enthusiastic, and I could use magnetism and I could use enthusiasm to create magnetism. So I would have the kids go along with what we were going to do next by sheer, magnet, like, okay, everyone, this is what we're going to do next, or make it sound fun. I diverted things, and I wasn't in touch with as much as deeply. I'm exaggerating it for us to be able to feel it. I wasn't as in touch with what was actually there for them, and I wasn't also allowing their energy to help have the classroom flow. I felt like if I had a routine, I mean, I had a general routine, but I felt like if I had to go from here to here to here, that then I couldn't do flow learning. I couldn't be in tune with their energy. See, it's just opposite of what I just said, but that's how I felt. I felt like I couldn't be in tune with their energy and understand where we needed to go, what we needed to do next, if I had a routine that I felt like I had to stick to. At 9 o'clock we do this, at 9:15 we do this. So it's not that kind of routine. I mean, what I figured out after the first year of exhaustion, I would come home and be laying on the couch, and talking with Usha, who is like very patiently showing me how routine is possible to have in class without losing the ability to be with children and what's happening. I learned that routine is what actually created a sense of confidence. So today, Helen and I are going to just kind of touch on a few things here. And I wanted to give you guys kind of the outline of what we would go over. So we're going to talk about routine. We're going to talk about connecting with the children. Who's the conductor of the classroom? We're going to talk about transitions, and we're just going to talk about some other basic things that we've kind of picked up along the way, some gems, if you will. And having that as an outline allows your brain to now know what the structure will be. Our brains like to predict what's going to happen, and so when I can have that prediction for them, then now they have security. Now the children have the ability to just be with what's happening because they know what's going on, and security gives that ability then for their hearts to be open, and now they can actually look around, they can interact with their peers. So routine is more about creating a sense of security for the children in the classroom. And Helen, I wanted to see if you wanted to add to that, just because we had a great conversation about routine.
Yes, I think routines are really your absolute best friend you can have. It just basically eliminates behavior problems, I would say, by 75%. And kids look for patterns, repetitions, they know what's coming next, and that helps us then. As an example, when we ring the bell, because transition is another thing where kids can get out of hands and it's sometimes hard to hold them. We ring the bell and then they know, oh, it's time to clean up. And if the shining star, who is the leader that day, they will start doing it because they know that is what comes next. They're all their little helpers. So if you need to help some other child to leave the room because that child had a really bad day, the kids will keep doing morning circle by themselves while you're gone. And so, yeah, routines are just your absolutely best friends. Lifesaver. Yes.
That's right. Thank you. Okay. Well, the other thing that I thought would be really useful as far as just in talking about routine and talking over to transitions, did everybody bring a stuffy today? Everyone has stuffy? Okay. So I think today we've all had a chance to, perhaps you've had a chance to meditate, perhaps you've had a chance to feel connected just from the beginning of class. Have you ever had a child in class that is they've just, maybe you're introducing something new and the whole class is kind of, you feel that resistance, you feel that stopping. Maybe today you ran into your computer and you clicked on a link and you're just barely here. Maybe that happened for you today, and maybe you didn't have a chance to be present and be open-hearted. So one of the things that I discovered about stuffies is, if you'll all take your little stuffy and just snuggle it in somehow, and just really like get connected with your stuffy for a minute, maybe think of a name for it. I said it because I don't know if it's a he or she. This is Ducky, even though it's my chick, this is Ducky. And when we did virtual teaching, when we taught over Zoom, all the children had their stuffy and I had a stuffy, and so so just notice for 1 second how you're feeling, what's happening in your body when you're snuggling with your stuffy. Does anyone have, what's happening? Just throw out some words.
Relaxing.
People can unmute themselves to share too. Feel free.
Comfortable. Very comforting.
Enough. Happy.
Relaxed.
More open-hearted.
Yeah.
Safe. I'm absolutely overjoyed at seeing everyone just snuggling their stuff.
I know, and that's the thing of it. So it actually emits oxytocin in our system. So a stuffy is a tool that can be used anytime, anywhere, even high schoolers, right? Even adults. Like it's good to have that feeling, and a stuffy is a safe way to be able to get back to open-heartedness. You know, we've had children in the class that maybe they had sensory issues, but they weren't able, maybe they stayed mostly in their intellect, and so we had what would be considered like they wouldn't cooperate with, they had a hard time going from one thing to the next thing. And giving them a stuffy gave them the ability to be present to what was happening, to feel safe, and to be able to go along with the routine. This year, I had all of the students, all of the kids would go get a stuffy because I stepped in halfway through the year to teach a new class. They all went to got a stuffy to do our first morning circle. And then we stayed with doing stuffies in our morning circle because it became so much fun. However, it allowed them to put their guard down and have their stuffy be present with them to be able to do it. Made all the difference. So I wanted to encourage everyone to try stuffies. And then one more thing before I turn it over to you, Helen. So do you have a scarf or do you have a blanket handy? So many times we do, for our circle, at the end of our circle, we do a yoga pose. We always have, children have jobs, and so one of the jobs is the yoga posture of the day, and they get to do that for us. And then that leads us maybe into a few more postures, but we always end our day in child's pose. And if you all have space to stand up right now and to go get into child's pose, take your scarf with you, then get into child's pose and put your scarf over you. And if you don't have space to get up and go do that, put your body into like a comfortable position, and then just cover yourself with your scarf. And just take a second, take a big breath, and just experience what is it, how do you feel under that scarf? What is coming up for you? And just think about inside what's happening, the sensations, how it feels. Okay, we can come back, and normally I would, so the children, when we end in child's pose, many times they're still wiggly, someone's having a hard time staying in child's pose, so when we get out the scarf, they love it so much that they will, and these are 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds, that they will flip over, get into child's pose so they can have their scarf on, and it feels safe to them. They can go inside themselves and they can be there. It's very meditative for them. I had a Zoom session this year where my internet went down. We had just gone into child's pose. We just put our scarves on, and I always have them visualize all their cares and all their worries going down into the ground, down into the ground. I had just finished that. My Zoom session stops. And I'm like, oh no, it's 3 weeks in, so I'm a little panicked, trying to get it back connected. Finally come back. It's been 2 minutes. Guess what? The Zoom call for them hadn't ended. They were all still down in child's pose, and they had their scarves over them. So I came back to the call thinking that I'd lost them. And I come in and I said, okay, everyone. And all of a sudden, I was a little frazzled, right? And they all come up out of their scarves and they said, that was so great. That was so peaceful. So just using things like that that emphasize, and I am obviously in the physical years, but every person in our balance, in our learning, I see the physical years as, if you never learn to stand, it's not possible to walk, probably. I'll say probably because I'm in the world of possibilities, but physical years are all about that, I think. So, okay, Helen, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Trina. This is great. Yes, and what Trina was explaining pretty much happened to me as well. I didn't have a real routine, and I spent so much time every day preparing the next session the next day. And by the time the kids were gone, I was exhausted too. So routines is really your very best friend. And then, of course, over the years, you have all little tricks to help you with classroom management. I want to go into transitions, and transitions, what helps is sometimes a little bell to announce what comes next. So usually for cleaning up, we use the bell, and the kids get doing it, whoever is the shining star that day. And they know how to clean up, and that is really helpful. Sometimes you might need, if you have a difficult class in circle, I do name tags so that certain kids get to sit together. So well thought out seating can be eliminating quite a few problems as well. Of course, well-planned lessons and your own clear understanding of it really is helpful. Although sometimes with your best intent, you have planned everything, nothing can go wrong, and that's usually when it happens. So I went to Michael's, got these really nice, expensive card boards with beautiful colors, cut them just the right side, had 10 kids, put them out on the tables with scissors and glue and papers, like beautifully laid out, nothing can go wrong. We are just finished the story. And I tell the kids to go to the tables as usual. And that's in the beginning of the year. It's a new project that I'm trying out. I turn around to help someone, and it's a little bit longer than intended. And by the time I turn around, the kids are cutting my nice, expensive cardboard with the beautiful colors and gluing and creating. And I'm just like, where they just cut it, that's why I wanted to fold. I had this beautiful project, and there's two choices, right? Because now you're a little bit frustrated because you spend a lot of time prepping, and here they're cutting and so forth. The good thing is they're having so much fun. So I don't want to be a joy killer, so I'll join. I'm like, whoa, look at that nice cut. Thinking that's why I wanted my fold. And you just go with the flow. And then for the next day, really basically it was my fault to have it all set out and not have had clear explanations what's going to happen. So the next day, we go to the table, and that's when I'm giving out the cardboard and the scissors and explain exactly what comes next. So it was my own fault to have done that. So in the end, so well thought out transitions. seeding can help eliminate problems, planned lessons, and know how to be flexible is really helpful. And then, of course, education for life principles in well-planned lessons is the best. And create a balanced structure between movement and sitting still. Or do individual activities, group activities, and it can be really simple. You know, you paint, and sometimes just you have your own sheet of paper where you paint, or you might want to do a group activity, one big sheet where everybody paints on it. So all these things are helpful. And then, of course, comes the teacher has to be in charge. And you don't want to be the sage on the stage. You want to be the guide on the side. And still, and again, it's something that I think every young teacher should be able to stay with. A teacher that had a lot of practice just makes all the difference in the world. Some things are just cannot be taught, but when you are in the classroom, you can pick it up. So I think really every young teacher should be in a classroom for a year or more. It does take a while and would make their lives much easier when they're on their own. I don't know the time, huh? Okay. So the teacher has to be in charge. I do tell the kids, it's not just that you have to come in circle because I want to order you around. It's that I cannot teach if everybody does what they want at all times. So it's that I need everyone here. And when we ring the bell and it's circle time, and there is a person that is still playing, so then, and I know that person, that child very well, and I know there will be a confrontation. So I'm like, hey, Emma, did you hear the bell ring? Yeah. I said, it's time to clean up. Yeah, but I just need to put that on and that and that. I'm like, I understand, that's really hard, but the bell rang, we need to go to circle. Yeah, but I just need to put my head on. I'm like, well, Emma, remember, we need to put it away right now. Otherwise, we lose the privilege to have it for the day. But that's no problem. You get another chance tomorrow. And then, you know, she's listening because she knows that's what's going to happen. But is still not quite willing to part with it. Then in our classroom, which I think is very helpful too, especially for those kids that just can have such a hard time to separate from the toy, we have a safety spot where everybody gets to put their creations there. Nobody else gets to touch it. And then later on, they can have it back. So that's very helpful. And another thing that I want to share, and I don't know if other people do that, it's a Montessori thing. I call it stations. And stations for me is a little lifesaver. So it's usually in the end of the day when the kids are getting a little bit more tired to compromise one more time. I'm getting a little bit tired, and it's really the last 50 minutes. When after the art or whatever math we do that day, we have probably another 35 minutes to go before we go home. And station is, I make it really simple. You could set it out, but I let the kids to choose. So they know what they get to choose. So they can choose a toy, a game, they can take out the little sandboxes, they can have the beads. And with station goes silence. So we do not talk. And sometimes the kids need it, but sometimes I really need it. I just need quiet in the classroom. And they are quiet for 20 minutes. You come in here and it's just silence. And you do get to change. So let's say you get tired with the sandbox and you want to play somewhere else. You can get a new toy that nobody's playing with. But you cannot go to a station where the child already has the wanted toy. And the Montessori says that the first 20 minutes, you go in maybe that much, and it really helps you settle and focus, and then you come out of it. However, the second time, it's said to be 40 minutes, they come out of it, and then, so it's a little noisy, they talk, and you have to remind them to be quiet, re-emphasizes, and then do it again, and then they go deeper this time in focus. And Montessori has created for kids that are running, that don't have any structures, in Italy, for kids that just can't focus, that never had any routines, that do what they want all day long. So that is really, really helpful. I wanted to share. And I have 1 more minute.
Helen, we might have a question for you if you have time. Yeah.
Sure.
Could you talk a little bit more about transitions? I know you touched on it a little bit in terms of like when you have a student that just, but I really need to, you know, or just as a class, you know, the timing sometimes, you know, there's just, when we're trying to get in academics or different things, or we need to go to this place or do that. Do you have any, or Trina, either of you, any suggestions on tricks, techniques, tools to help transitions be really smooth?
Yeah. After circle, when we just come out of prayer and so forth, and we go into journaling, it's just loud. And I let them, because they have been really concentrated and quiet. So I give them 5 minutes to be loud, run around, and I wait until I have their attention again. And then we have a focus, but it's physical. We do something with our hands. They get to walk around. So I do let that. But transition, in the end of the day, Usha, years ago, she said, if you want parents to be on time, you have to be on time, Helen. And so I took this very seriously. So at 1 o'clock, we are ready. And maybe twice a year, I'm 2 minutes late, but I'm really on time. And it does make a difference. And what I do there, I prep earlier after lunch, make sure that all the lunch items are in the lunch box. All the lunch boxes are in the backpack, hung, and toys or whatever, hats, t-shirts that lay around that they may have taken off, is ready to go home. So in the end, I know we don't have to look for it. And then usually a kid will be really frustrated if they can't find a certain item. So that helps. And then we line up, and I have a few games that we play. I don't know, Trina, sorry, I came in late this morning. Did you do the stuffy sorting?
No, we did not. Yeah.
So if we are already lined up, this class was really quick to line up. I sort them by long hair, short hair, backpacks, no backpacks, glasses, no glasses, you get the idea. So I say, Emily and Lauren, you go in this pile, in this group, and I and Trina are in this group, and what is the difference? Maybe in this case, it would be age. And so they get to guess, and by the end of the year, they're getting really good at it. It's something fun for them to do. So, or we play I Spy with my little eye. We learn maybe some numbers. I count 1, you're number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I make sure they know their number. 4 goes, sits down, 3 sits down until everybody's down. Then I call number 1 to get back up. Just some little games, and then the routine is we always sing "Go with Love," and we have a little snake that the shining star gets to have, like this, and it says goodbye to all the children in the very end. So that's daily, and they love that little snake, and they know the story from Ananda with, I think, Elizabeth, where the snake was found outside on the playground, and the children, instead of running or making noise, just stood really still and sent love to the snake. And the snake came, and apparently came greeting every single child. And it went on for quite some while before the snake slithered away and they sang Go With Love. So my kids do know that story.